I actually decided to get into ontological coaching because it was a branch of metaphysics. It's what resonated with me the most. Ontology means the essence of our being. Basically, it's the nature of like human existence is what ontology is. So yeah, it's a philosophy, and it's a branch of metaphysics, and so that in and of itself really interests me, because I looked at tons of other coaching programs out there, and a lot of it was great. I mean, they all offer something different, but a lot of it was more just really surface level kind of coaching. That's what I felt. Very like, I don't know, just moving pieces around that just really never got to the root of really people. And so the reason why I chose the ontological coaching was because I was into metaphysics and like really, asking a whole bunch of existential questions of like, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? All these things were kind of going through me at the time. And I worked a lot of different jobs and professions to where I was like, I can't do this forever. And so I sought out ontological coaching, and I went to the New Field Network, which is out of Boulder, Colorado. And then we actually did 2 5-day retreats up in the mountains. So that was really beautiful experience to really get the in-depth training. It was an 8-month program, 8-month long, and then there's 2 5-day retreats that you do up in the mountains, to where you're kind of tight knit and eat together and work together and get coached together. So, and then ontological coaching, they use 2 different models that are they found very effective, and it's the OAR model, which is the observer action results model. So the way that they look at it is, in life, a lot of times we live in the action results of this model. And so we're making the same actions, getting the same results, and it's all good when everything's going well. But a lot of times we have breaks and transparencies where things don't go according to plan. And so what happens is we find ourselves still making these same actions, and we're just in this feedback loop of just the same stuff over and over again. And then it comes in where ontological coaching, we focus on the observer that you are, and the observer that you are is made up of our body, our emotions, and our language, and they kind of overlap, all 3 of them. And then where they intersect in the middle, people within the ontological community, they consider that your soul. So it's where your language, your body, and your emotions all come together, and it's the heart of who you are. So your soul, pretty much. And so in ontological coaching, the biggest thing is we challenge the observer that you are in the world. So it's to help people see the world with new eyes. So to start getting the results that they want and that they desire in their lifetime, and to have a good life, the life that they wish to have. As ontological coaches, our job is to be master observers of people and of the world and of everything around us. And so our job is to ask powerful questions to coachees or clients to help them shift their perspective and change the way they look at the world. And they do it all on their own. So the cool thing about it that I love the most is that it happens so organically and so just naturally that people have these aha moments, and eventually something in their being does shift, and they call that an ontological shift, which is when you have a literal shift in your being. And then when you have that shift in your being, everything changes. All your results start to change. Everything starts to change. And it's a beautiful thing, because that's only the beginning of your journey. And a lot of times, people spend their whole life in that action results.
Yeah.
And they don't come off of that, especially if everything's going well, right? It's fine. And then So it would be kind of, I don't know, I think about that feedback loop. I think about maybe like someone going through like a midlife crisis,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's going awesome, it's going awesome, it's going awesome, and they wake up one day and they're like, oh shit, what am I doing here?
Mm-hmm.
I realize I don't like my job, or I don't like where I'm living, or whatever it is. A number of things that have been coursing through them for 20 years, and they
Mm-hmm.
finally woke up and they're like, I need to face this today.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be that far down the road
True. Yeah.
for people.
Yeah.
And it it's cool how the training's set up too. So the first 4 months you learn what ontological coaching is, and you actually get coached through the first 4 months of the training. And that was really profound for me because I had an ontological shift of my own throughout the process. So what I found out through being coached by an ontological coach was that I was living, I had a master assessment a master assessment of shame and guilt in regards to some things that have happened to me in my past.
Does that mean that's an assessment that you were giving to your own self?
Exactly. So it's an assessment that one of the things that they talk about too within ontological coaching is that we get caught in drifts in life. And so sometimes we're in these drifts for a day, sometimes we're in these drifts for a month or years or a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're in these drifts, we don't even realize that we're in them.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all these things that we go into resentment or resignation, and we're okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And unless someone, like, obviously if we go seek someone to help us find these blind spots that are we're just tired living this life that we've created for ourselves. So for me, experiencing that ontological shift, I had something happen when I was 23. A couple of things really close together in my life. One was a passing of a family member, and the other was getting in trouble with the law. And with those two things happening, and I was 23 at the time, and I started living in this master. I mean, I can talk about it now since it's been brought into my awareness and my attention, but I was living in resentment and resignation, and I was shameful of that 23-year-old version of myself. And so for about 10 years, that's where I lived. I lived in a space of resentment and resignation, and that showed up in my relationships. It showed up in my own personal relationship with myself and with everyone. And during it, I was unaware of it. And so that actual ontological shift that I experienced has really allowed me to step into who I am as a human being, and to really step into this work that I'm getting into within being an ontological coach. So I have a testimony of myself, so my own experience within it. And the great thing about it that I think was beautiful is that it just happened. It wasn't a matter. The coach asked some really powerful questions, and I was really open and vulnerable in regards to the work, which I think allows for it to manifest the way it's supposed to. I mean, everyone has to be willing participants to really see it kind of transform.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, and that's pretty much where I'm at in regards to ontological coaching. And so that's why I chose it, and then to experience that personal shift within my own being has really made me a believer in it, and I really think it's coaching at a soul level. And I think you and I have had many conversations about the soul and the 5 stages of the soul, that book. And so it's it's what I'm passionate about.
So, and then recently, you decided to kind of add something kind of to your coaching, and that's the open hand work. Is there a specific name for that? Because you're thinking of becoming a
Yeah, so
facilitator of that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That is, yeah, it's spiritual life coaching, I think is what they call it. So yes, I would love to move forward within that modality to become a facilitator in it, because I think it's more up my alley in regards to spiritual evolution of our souls and
Mm-hmm.
what's really going on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the coaching that I do within ontological coaching, I will use that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a beautiful approach, but I don't. I think it would just be kind of a mishmash of everything that I kind of pick up along the way, right?
Yeah.
No particular way, but this open hand way, or open hand philosophy that has resonated with me over the past few years. Yeah, it's a beautiful way to really to yeah, facilitate people in this journey that we're all experiencing right now on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How
So,
would you define, this is a big question, but how would you define the spiritual evolution of the soul?
wow, um, I'm still in the process of it. I'm still living it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
We
think
all are,
we
right?
always live it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we always live it.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I look at it is it's just a deep, intimate relationship with oneself, and finding out who you really are, and then connecting to the source, or to God, and then expressing that through your human body.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in order for us to really do that, we need to trudge through some of this stuff that has, us tied down, these distortions, or our ego, or all these society, culture,
Yeah.
schooling, I mean, there's a number of things that are in. I think if we can see all the invisible stuff that is attached to us, it would gross everyone out,
Oh,
because
yeah, for
it's look
sure.
like this big, like, crazy alien of all these, like, things just
Yeah.
sticking to us, and then we have to kind of, yeah, be somewhat of a warrior, and trudge through
Yeah.
those.
When you're saying that, I think of all those attachments kind of as
Yeah,
being like sucking energy, like draining the life energy from us if they aren't a match or in alignment with our soul.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, and as you experience that, because I think when we start to express from a soul level, yeah, those, you start to become lighter. We start
Mm-hmm.
to become lighter, and things start to fall away naturally. And kind of like what you were just saying, is some of those things, they're just not matching vibrationally,
Yeah.
and so they're just misfiring. And then
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you come out, who you are,
Mm-hmm.
which is a spiritual being having a human experience, which is said by a lot of people out there
Yeah.
and all around, and but that's something that you have to experience for your own.
Mm-hmm.
Each person has to experience that and come up with that truth on their own,
Mm-hmm.
versus just being like, yeah, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. Like,
What does that mean?
what does it mean? Yeah, we want to intellectualize it and try to, like, grab it and stuff, but it's what I'm finding out from my own personal experiences. It's definitely experiential,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
have to feel through it,
Yeah.
and navigate through it. And
Mm-hmm.
the world that we live in today, the way it's set up, is that's very hard for a lot of us to do,
Mm-hmm.
for everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Because that spiritual being having a human experience, it's not so much about what you do or what you're saying with your words. It's more about what you're experiencing, and pretty much that, what you're experiencing. And I think there's not even a language for it.
Yeah, I don't think there is either. I think the moment you put language or words to it, you're already building that attachment to
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
right?
I think so too. That's
It,
kind of the weird thing
yeah,
about it. It's
yeah,
because it's so foreign and unfamiliar, especially in our Western society. It's like, well, that person's kind of, they come into this group of people, but they're not saying a whole lot, and they aren't exuding what we call self-confidence. And so, they're probably not going to be very successful in life. Even our definition of what success in life is
Right.
to me, that's not what I consider success for myself in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's just, it's an interesting time with all of that.
Absolutely. We're in the process of redefining that.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is neat. It's cool.
yeah.
And I've experienced that myself with like quitting jobs, good paying jobs that would deem me successful down the road,
Yeah.
and would allow me the money to do certain things that and it's been nice to let go of some of that and to really define what my new success is.
Yeah, yeah.
Or not even mess around with the word success.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. That really doesn't even
Yeah.
fit, and there's not a whole lot that fits into a soul way of being. We don't have words and language for that. We just really don't. And so as a spiritual coach, that's going to be a challenge, I would imagine. I'm not sure how open hand, does it, but
No, I think you're right. I think that's definitely going to be a challenge. I think because a lot of it is feeling and expression is what I feel that comes up for me the most, is because even in some of the work that I've done with some facilitators from my own work and my own journey is it's really awesome. You're being challenged with everything that comes out of your mouth in regards to whatever it is you say. So I don't want to say, here's an example. I don't want to feel like this forever. Well, Irma, what's forever mean to you?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What is forever? Right? And then you kind of trudge through that distortion. You're like, you start to contemplate and reflect back on what forever is. And you're like, yeah, I mean, it's something that I made up in my, that my mind put something to, and that's where all those attachments come to me, like freaking out about it. And then that's where the distortion is.
Yeah.
Within that one sentence, right? And then
Yeah.
you move on to something else, and you're asked to be like, well, what does that mean to you? What's your definition of success? And you literally, wow, yeah, you definitely need a sword for this work. And
Well, yeah, yeah.
and you just trudge through. And the great thing about it is that we're given these mirrors each and every day in all of our interactions of how we're showing up in the world. And this is a lot with the open hand work of what he talks about, of just, how am I showing up now? What am I being shown, and how am I being shown to act now, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very interesting. And it's one of those things where I've tried to intellectualize it, but it's more of an experiential thing. It's connecting with the flow of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just being.
Yeah, yeah.
Just without trying to label it.
Yeah. Something that came to my mind as far as like spiritual coaching and not necessarily having a language for it, something that a space I go into if I'm working with a client is really a space of allowing.
Mm.
So not predicting or kind of pushing towards an outcome, just an allowing and an unfolding of what's happening in that moment. Kind of allowing higher vibrations to come into that interaction and let those vibrations kind of move and guide, not me, not my ego, and not me thinking I know what's best for that person. I don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to play God, right, Irma?
No, I don't. No, thank you.
That's a lot of pressure.
And then
That would be an
also,
exhausting life.
yeah. And then also, I think for myself, as far as like the um, spiritual, and even spiritual has so many attachments to that word, but what's that?
No, I said totally, for
Yeah.
sure. And I think, yes, I can relate to that. Because really all the kinds of like coachings and labels that you can give, like coaching or like getting into the work, they all kind of rub me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because they all mean something different.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
And then
That can be a challenge.
then I need to show up a certain way. It's like, no, like how do you do this organically and authentically without it being this or that?
Yeah. 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 So
No,
even that language is limited, but what I was going to say is, for me, probably my biggest practice in the spiritual way of moving through life is kind of not trying to change anything.
sure.
Not trying to change myself, not trying to change anybody else, not trying to change anything else.
Yeah.
Kind of this an acceptance of everything exactly as it is. And when I can get in that space and kind of move around in that space, I don't really have a whole lot of issues. It's kind of like
You're
grace, I guess, kind of like a feeling of grace, or a lightness of
sure.
being. Yeah,
In the flow.
in the flow.
In the flow of life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's a good place. That's where everyone's going.
yeah, yeah.
At some point. Now I think that I was reading something the other day. Some people aren't wanting to awake.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that getting into this kind of work to be cognizant of that is huge.
Mm-hmm.
To really, yeah, just to really allow for people to come to you who resonate with who you are and what you
Mm-hmm.
put out there,
Yeah.
and that's good enough versus trying to feel that you need to fix people, and kind of exactly what you were just saying, Irma. Like everyone's where they're supposed to be. We're all where we're supposed to be, and that.